So they're all getting it at the same time. So so there we go. We're live on Periscope. And it's funny how they all come up. And if we actually were to stop talking, everybody would say, "What's going on? There's a problem."
If
Yeah,
it's live
a
or
technical
not,
issue, and we are live. Welcome to Real Hospitality Live. I am super excited to have my friend Greg Getzinger on today of Portion PadL, US made product. You know, we bring products on and we bring inventors onto our show to really introduce products that can help the hospitality industry bottom line. And when I spoke with Greg the first time, I just went, aha, of course. How did you come up with this idea? You must be a pizza guy. And sure enough, Greg, how are you today?
Great, thanks. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, you know what? It's funny. We had so much fun in our pre-show, and I always mention the pre-show the day before on the show, and we should be taking clips from these things because we always have this, raucous hour-long conversation about everything under the sun, especially industry, and then we end up having way more fun on the show too. So you have come up with the Portion PadL, which sounds very simplified. It actually sounds like something you would just pull out of the oven, but this is really a smart idea that helps to make your profitability happen. Tell me,
Yes.
let's start with the PadL itself and let's talk about it.
Well, thanks. I used to own my own pizza business, and first year in, I had my first school lunch account. I always thought school lunch accounts would be a good way to get the pizza into the hands of the consumer. In my mind, the consumer are the kids. The kids will tell the parents where they want to eat the pizza. And so I had a lot of competition in my city. So I decided to start with one school lunch account. And it was a great first account. It was 55 pizzas every Friday for Friday lunch. It's for the school kids. About a month in, I started to get I got a phone call from the head nutritionist, and she said she had a problem with our pizza. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, maybe we're late on the deliveries, maybe they're getting there cold. But I never thought that it would be that we weren't cutting the pizzas into equal slices. And she said that if we couldn't solve the issue, I was going to lose the account. Again, it was on a Friday. Friday is always like a busy day in the pizza industry. Right. And it was just started the day off great. At lunchtime, 55 pizzas, along with the other orders. And so I looked at the kind of portioning devices that were out there for pizza. In my mind, I didn't see anything that was efficient, easy enough for my employees to use, be able to pull out 55 pizzas. They had double stack ovens, and they were coming out at the same time. And so I have 4 pizzas coming out at the same time. And, you got people cutting it, boxing them, and you need something efficient. And I tried a couple of them, and they weren't efficient. So one morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, woke up, and I thought, it's got to be a cutting board because I already use a cutting board. So I need to make sure it's a cutting board. And then I start thinking that it's got to have grooves in the cutting board, so that way knives can stay in the grooves so that it can cut straight. Right. And then finally, I thought it has to be, there has to be centering circles on the surface. So that way it allows for the employees to be able to center the pizza without even thinking about it. Right. So I came in, it was like this light bulb went off. And so I scribbled it on a piece of paper, went into the shop that morning, and I showed my general manager, and I can't draw. I'm not an artist. So I fail at drawing a stick man. So I drew this picture. He looked at it, he scratched his head. He had no idea what it was. I said, don't worry. I think I figured this out. And so I started working on it. And ultimately it came out just like I thought it would. And it saved the account. And the kids were happy. It brought in a lot of business because the kids love the pizza. And since they were all cut equal, the nutritionist was very happy because they were losing money because the kids were only buying this bigger slices and
Right.
opting out on the smaller slices.
Yeah.
So from that point, I thought, maybe I'm not the only one. Maybe my staff's not the only one who can't cut pizzas in equal slices. So I started doing the research and found the right material. And then ultimately, I came up with the name of the portion PadL. And then I ended up commercializing it. And it took me about 6 months to get my first sale. But my first sale was Domino's. They bought 50 to start. They bought
fantastic.
Several afterwards. But I didn't stop there. I didn't think I knew franchises would be a good fit.
Yeah.
But I also thought schools would be. I also thought convenience stores would be.
Right.
And so I called on several convenience stores, and sure enough, it's a very popular product for convenience stores as well that sell pizza by the slice. School systems love it, and they use it all the time. Again, for the same reason why I had issues, they have issues as well. So they want to make sure they're consistent. And then also, it is so easy that to use that, a new employee you can put them right on the cut station, and they'll start cutting pizzas into equal slices without even realizing why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Without any problem. And in our industry, there tends to be quite a bit of turnover and a lot of inexperienced employees. And so it's not easy to be able to teach someone how to cut equal slices, let alone be able to be efficient in it. You and I spoke about it yesterday, where in a pizza shop, normally we'll have a phone positioned near the cut line so you can answer the phone.
Right.
To take the order, cut the pizza at the same time, and then put the order into the computer at the same time. It's all hands on deck in every station. And so this allows it to be efficient, quick, and without even realizing it, cutting it into equal slices. So that's how the portion PadL was born, was out of the need to save an account in my own pizza business.
That's awesome. It's the relative perspective of even hearing you talking about the pies coming out of the oven at the same time. I've been there doing the school accounts myself, and hand to God, I'm terrible at getting even cuts. I can do it fast, but not necessarily even. And I probably would have gotten the same phone call. And I've used products where you like I was talking to you yesterday about the one that kind of sits on top of the pizza with the little teeth in it, and then using the wheel to cut as well in different organizations. And almost every time when you take that thing off, not only is it filthy, you've got to sanitize it and clean it, but it doesn't necessarily do a great job. And when to be able just to set it down on the same board where you're always going to be doing either a 16 or an 18 or a 20, and you even have them as big as 28.
28, yeah, we can make them as big as my customers want. And you're right, that's one of the unique features too, is that the portion PadL is custom made to every customer's pizza size and slice application. So you're not getting something that has a generic, like a 16, 18-inch circle of some sort, where maybe they have a 20-inch and like last week, I had a customer who ordered 10 they were 10 portion PadLs for 28-inch pizzas cut into 10 slices. And nobody does that other than except the portion PadL.
Yeah.
And so yeah, most definitely. The other thing you brought up too is that the efficiency is very important, and the grooves, though it looks like it's a simple kind of a product, there's some very intricate pieces to that puzzle. To give you an idea, like the portion PadL, you can use a rocker knife, you can use a roller knife, you can use You were talking about one of those nice straight cut knives to go down on the cutting board, and the entry points to the portion paddle are just a little bit deeper and wider. That allows for people who like to use a rocker knife, because when people use a rocker knife, they are standing away from the table, and so they actually come down on a natural angle. They'll come down in a natural angle, and that deeper, wider entry point allows the knife to come in and then lock right into the groove and cut through.
Hold that one up that you have, Greg, and we can talk about the channels in the cut line, because you can see where it's deeper on the end and wider on the end. So if you're using a rocker knife or the long blade pizza knife, which is my favorite, or even the wheel, you get into that channel and you can just go. Yeah.
And then the other part too is that there are different kinds of grooves that I've had people try to copy it and use different kinds of grooves. But what I have patented are these V grooves that allow the sidewalls, allow a knife to pinch. The knife pinches against the sidewalls to keep the knife in the groove. If someone uses like a square groove or a round notch groove, the roller knife just slides right on out.
Right.
And so that makes a big difference. And so that's, some of the features. And since it's custom made, like the one in the background, you can see several centering circles, and that, a lot of places will have like an 18-inch and maybe a 16-inch pizza, or 14 and 16-inch cut into 8 slices. And that allows me to be able to put several centering circles on one side if they have different kind of size pizzas cut in the same cut selection. And the other unique, we have a lot of unique features. And one of them as well is I have a 2-sided portion paddle, where instead of having to buy 2 portion paddles, I can do like a 6 cut on one side. And it could be an 8 cut or a 10 cut. It doesn't matter what the cut application. And then flip it over, and then there's an 8 cut on the other. And this allows, I have several convenience stores that do a 14-inch pizza, and often they'll sell the whole pizza in an 8 cut. Then they'll cut the 14-inch pizza into 6 slices for selling a pizza by the slice. So that allows my customers to be able to be flexible with their own menu on one portion paddle.
In my experience, it's not uncommon to get a catering order where they'll call and they'll say, well, can we get it into 8 slices? And we know you normally do it in 6 or whatever else. And again, you always want it to look great when it goes out. You want it to be even, but even somebody who's maybe not accustomed to cutting it off into 8 or 6 is not going to get them good looking slices.
Right.
So the one thing about the channels too, with your cut channels is, we discussed this yesterday, is there wide enough that you can clean them out?
Yeah.
Right.
It is. It's very easy to clean. And like I mentioned yesterday, you can just, if you want to use a dishwasher, they're dishwasher safe. And then if you don't have a dishwasher and you have to clean them by hand, manual, I once had an employee tell me that I ought to get a dishwasher, and I looked at him and I told him that I had one. And I have one. And he scratched his head wondering where it was. I'm looking right at him. But if you have to wash them manually, all you need is just a little scrub pad. The debris comes out of it. The other important part to note about is that material is a composition material. It kind of looks like wood, but it's a composition material that is NSF Food Safe approved, and it allows. It's very durable. It'll last quite a while. It'll wear out eventually, just like treads on a tire does. But it lasts for a long time, and you'll get your money's worth out of it. When you think about it, when you sell pizza by the slice, I hear so often that when they're not cut equally, the employees are either throwing out the smaller slices, or they're giving away like a 2-for-1, where you give them a bigger slice and a smaller slice. So you're losing profits because they're not cut into equal slices. The portion paddle, every slice becomes a profit center. So you make you make your profit off each single slice.
That's it. I told you this story yesterday, but I'll tell it again, that I had a mentor as a chef many years ago, and we were talking about pies. So like actual like apple pies and dessert pies. And he would always say you have to be careful when you're cutting the pie so that you don't crush the slices, because that last piece of pie is where the profit is.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And in our industry, I mean, that's the margin. I mean, we have such small margins. Even and in pizza, if you're doing 15% profit margin at the end of the day in the pizza industry, you're rocking and rolling. If you're chucking out food because you're not cutting it properly, whew, you're not in business for long.
I could give you an example. I did a secret shopper on a chain. I'm not going to say what kind of a chain, but I walked in and they had 5 different pizzas sitting out. And I went intentionally like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it was slow. And I had my choice of any slice from any of the 5 pizzas. So I chose 2 of the biggest slices I could find. And so I chose 1 slice for 1 pizza, 1 slice from the other. And the employee behind the counter, she put the slice in the slice box. It was too big. It wouldn't fit in the slice box. It was so big. And she made that comment. She said, you know, that slice is so big, it won't even fit in the slice box. And I responded and I said, well, if that's the case, then what are you going to do? And I pointed to the opposite side of the pizza. I said, what are you going to do with that smaller slice? And she said, we just throw those out. And at the time, this chain had 400 locations, so much bigger now. And they're a customer of mine now. But they sell their pizzas for $3.50. They sell their slices for $3.50 a slice. And if you do the math and you average, and that was during a slow period. So there's at least 2 slices that were just sitting there that were going to be thrown out. During the rush hours, you know that they're not cutting them equally. So you can average like, you know, 4 slices a day that are being thrown out at each location on the average. And then we multiply by $3.50 per sale. Within a year, in these locations open almost 365 days a week, you're looking at a loss of about 1.7 million in sales just because of slices that aren't being sold. And so that's a huge number. And it's one of those hidden numbers that people they know what's going on. I'm sure everybody knows that, you know, there are smaller slices that aren't being, but nobody's really quantifying what that sales actually means. And if you're losing 1.7 in sales, what are you losing in profits? And how much are you losing in profits? And so it doesn't cost a lot. It averages, well, the MSRP is $147.95 US dollars. And so it doesn't cost a lot, but it has a heck of a return on its investment for sure.
And easy to use as well. And you were telling me a story about the lemonade stand. I want to hear it.
Yeah, well, it is so easy to use, and you're right. There's an entrepreneur program targeted for 5th graders, and in our community we adopted it. We really embraced it. And I did. And I was the only pizza business in that city to request to have one of the kids set up a lemonade stand in front of my pizza shop. And I wanted it because well, let me just say how it worked is the kids actually had to, there were teams of 4, 5th graders, teams of 4, and they had to put together a business plan, and they had to put together like a marketing plan, and they also had to put together like how they were going to spend their money. Now they went to the local bank and took that information, and they requested a loan so they could build their lemonade stand and buy their supplies. And then they'd sell their lemonade, and then from the sales they'd pay back the loan. They give a certain percentage towards a charity. then they got to keep the profits. What a great little thing for fifth graders, you know. So
Absolutely.
I'm all in on it, and so I had asked them if they wouldn't mind selling pizza by the slice, so I could learn a little bit about pizza as well. Selling pizza. I mean, quite frankly, selling, you know, a pizza shop is pretty much is an adult point of view of like a lemonade stand. You know, people come in, they pick up their slice and they leave, you know,
Yep.
or their pizza and leave. So I had the kids, I showed them what their cost was for the pizza. I had them make pizzas, not a lot, a couple, just so they could get, I think they enjoyed making a pizza.
Oh, my
And
kids love it.
yeah, we had pan pizza, so all you had to do is put sauce and some cheese and some pepperoni. They also had them cut the pizzas, and it was really cool to see these kids. They're using, we often would use rocker knives, so I had them with this real long rocker knife, and it's little fifth graders and about the size of them, you know, and they're cutting equal slices. So I took a couple pictures. I still use them today, where, you know, I put down a portion paddle so simple even a fifth grader can cut a pizza into equal slices. But the team that would sit in front of my pizza shop was always the highest grossing lemonade stand, because they could sell slices of pizza with the lemonade.
Sure.
And so everybody wanted, you know, every year the team they would always be fighting over having their stand at my pizza business. So yeah, it's very simple to use. And one other story, real quick story. One of the chain of convenience stores that carry my portion paddle, a lot of times I don't know where the portion paddles are being sent to these convenience stores. And I noticed that one of them was in my neighborhood, started selling pizza by the slice. And so I went into the convenience store, and it was, I asked the employee behind the counter, I got my gas, went in and asked the employee, I said, hey, are you using a cutting board to cut your pizzas that has grooves in it? And the kid, he wasn't really paying attention. Yeah, we are. And I told him, I said, hey, I invented that. And his eyes just lit up, and he said, you know, I really want to thank you. I said, why? And he said, about a month ago, I was told, and he must have been like about maybe 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
He said, I was told like about a month ago that we were going to start selling pizza by the slice. And I was afraid because I had no idea how to cut a pizza, let alone how to cut them so they'd be equal. Yep. He said, all of a sudden this cutting board shows up. He said, it is the easiest thing to use. And I said, well, listen, I appreciate your comment. I said, that's exactly what it's meant for.
Yep.
And I share that story because it is true. It's a very simple and efficient way, and it doesn't take a lot of effort especially since they're custom made. It takes very little effort to have to figure out how to cut a pizza into equal slices.
Well, I told you this story. I was when I first started in the pizza industry. I think that my very good friend two decades later was about to kill me on my first day because I couldn't get him right. And my good buddy Rod Lee would come up and go, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'd be like, "What?" And of course they'd be backing up. People are like, "It's not that hard." And,
right.
and I'd be like, "Yeah, but you've been doing it for 10 years." So It was my first day on the job. Not my first day in the kitchen, but my first day in that environment, in the pizza environment. Yes. And here I was screwing them up. He goes, "That looks awful. I can't even say that."
It's a challenge. It's one of those things you don't think it really, it's like, at least in my pizza shop, it was like when we start a new employee, we get them started early, during the day to train them a little bit before the rush hour. The rush hour hits, the first place you put them is on the cut line, just because they can't answer the phone yet or make 8 pizzas, can't make dough.
Yeah.
And so you just have them cut pizzas. But when you have this cutting board, you don't have to worry about it. You just say, look,
well, you go, line them up.
Just go ahead and start cutting, and they can do it. So until you have the time to actually show them a little bit how it works and what it does, and you have enough time to train them on the other stations, you're off and running right away.
We're talking about slicing pies, round pies, but I mean you've got pizza paddles for rectangle, which the Altaglia style. So there we
Yeah,
go.
so
And
and
you can
this
do,
is, I have a line that's called a no-handle portion paddles, and so that, but I have them so they can made it in rectangle or taglio, like you were talking about, El
yeah.
Taglio, and they're custom made to each customer's um, um, centering mark and the number of horizontal and vertical grooves they need to get the perfect portions for each slice there.
Well, for food
Yes.
costing and catering and all of those things, not just having the individual cutting them, but I mean, when you kind of take a helicopter view of the operation, you go, okay, these are the finer details of our systems that we need to be keeping track of. Something like that really makes your food cost true.
Yes, yes, it does.
Right. It's not theoretical anymore. You can actually make it happen if you follow
Right,
that.
you can do it right to the because you're getting every piece that'll be sold, and unfortunately it's very easy for the employees to hide those slices. They don't get who's counting on those slices, and
That's right.
they're throwing them out, they're eating them, or they're the smaller slices, or they're just they're giving them away as a buy one get one kind of a deal. And
Well, again,
so
this is your experience improving other people's bottom line, which is awesome. I love it.
thanks, thank you.
So today we're not just talking about pizzas, but I mean you have the round boards, the rectangle boards. You have it set up for doing pizza fingers.
Yes, yeah. Let me show. And that's one of the things interesting. And this came out of um, a lot of pizza businesses will sell cheese bread, and a lot of places don't just sell pizza by the slice, or they or cut pizza into triangular slices. A lot of times they'll cut them into strips, like pizza strips.
Right.
On my menu, we had cheese bread. We called it cheesy bread, and we cut them in strips so that way people could dip them, and we'd add a cup of our own special marinara sauce, so that way they could dip the cheese bread in the marinara sauce. So along with the two-sided portion paddle, then what I've done is we can make it so there's like cheese bread on one side,
There you go.
and then the slices on the other on the two-sided portion.
Customized according to your menu.
Yes, and then we also can make them. There are areas and pockets in the U.S. where pizza is cut in round pizzas are cut into squares.
Right.
And so you think it's challenging, just cut them in slices. Try to cut something like this and try to make it work. And so this we can customize. I get a lot of orders for these as well. And so all of these are able to do with the design of the portion paddle.
Isn't it funny how different communities kind of gravitate to different styles of the way that they're
Yes.
cut? I watched a documentary in New York State where they were showing different areas where they only do square and rectangle pies. That's it. And nowhere in town does a round pie, but everywhere in town is well known everywhere for their amazing rectangular pizzas.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like if you took them out and put them on a different planet, it wouldn't make a difference because nothing else around
Right.
is what we would think. Oh, we just go and get a round pizza.
Well, I'm in Ohio, and even in Ohio, I'm in Northeast Ohio. If you go to Northwest Ohio, closer to Sandusky, many of the places and many of my customers in Sandusky, they do their, we cut them in the traditional way, Northeast Ohio, a lot of places. And then in Sandusky, they cut the pizzas into strips, and they have difficulty getting their employees to cut them into, strips. They're decent looking strips. And and then if you go to closer to Central Ohio, they make the round pizzas cut into squares. And it's just, so I can drive, 1 or 2 hours north, south, east, or west and find different ways that pizzas are cut. And I'm the only portion paddle that can do all of them.
Isn't it funny how a product that really wasn't a mainstream, like a hamburger, it wasn't even really mainstream until the Greeks made it super popular in the 70s. And now everybody has a tradition, as if we've done it this way for thousands of years, right? In our community.
It goes in trends, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, it goes in trends, and who knows what the trend is. The one thing I might point out, if you wouldn't mind, is I have come up with a new product, a new portion paddle. It's a pizza serving plate, and it's made. I designed it for because of the coronavirus. You know, we have issues these days with restaurants trying to open and be safe for the consumer. We want the consumers to come into the restaurants, and somehow we're going to have to balance it. We're going to have to balance safety with while dealing with the coronavirus. And so I came up with it's a pizza serving plate, but it's also the cutting board, and it's called the no handle portion paddle with a touchless pizza border. And what it does is it allows, and it looks similar, the border looks similar to like the square one. It's a no handle, there's no handle to it. And again, it's a serving plate, and they're custom made. But the idea with the border here is that these finger wells allow that when someone cuts a pizza, then what happens is you know, if you serve this on the table in the dining, where there's dine-in serving, all the patrons at the table have to do is pull and push the plate towards them, next to the next person.
Right.
All they do is they use one where there's a slice available, and that's their finger well. They're not, you know, you think about when you eat pizza.
So it comes out.
What's that?
It comes apart.
Yeah. The cheese comes off, the crust isn't, you know, it's not cut all the way through.
Right.
So when you go to pull it or take it from the plate, the recessed screws allows a knife to cut completely through the crust, even the thicker part of the crust cuts all the way through. And so it's very easy for them with a spatula to lift it up and put it onto on their own plate. You know, that's the problem. Pizza is a shareable food item.
Right.
Where most items, like you mentioned, a hamburger or French fry or chicken wings or anything like that, they're served to the individual versus a shareable item that's served to the table. Now you have an extra process. You have to take that piece, that slice off that plate, put it onto your own plate. So this allows you to not have to tear apart the slices, try to recut the slices. This allows you to be able to use wherever there's available slice, that's your finger well.
That's
you
yours.
Just pull it back and forth and move it back and forth. You think about when you're sitting at the table and you're eating your first slice, you know, you have your napkin in your lap, you take the first bite and you got cheese and sauce all over your mouth. What's the first thing you do? You take a napkin, you wipe your face with it, your nose and stuff. But then when it's time for seconds, you got to grab that plate again. And some of the most common serving plates, like this aluminum plate, doesn't allow a lot of room and so everybody, after wiping your face and stuff, are touching the sides of the wall of the
dirty hands off of the
plate, and everybody's sharing the same surface. And this allows allows the consumers to safely share slices of pizza from the same pizza without sharing the same surface.
Well, pizza's for sharing, and pizza is about community as well. And if we lose that, we lose a lot of what we hold dear to pizza, not just the fact that we love it, but the coming together.
Yes.
And if we can still do that in a safer way, then great.
Yes.
So, and anything that can help us right now, especially in your country, where things are going sideways. Then what a wonderful thing to be able to still do.
Well, it's interesting you say. I studied like all the different kind of guidelines as far as reopening for restaurants, and all of them mention. It's interesting. They all mention how you should remove all the shareable items on a table,
Right.
from the condiments, from the ketchup and mustard bottles to the salt shakers to table tents to any kind of shareable silver or tableware, anything shareable, you got to take it off. But here we are, we're serving something that's a shareable item. So we take all this stuff off, then all we're going to share. And they even mentioned CDC guidelines specifically say that that they shouldn't. They recommend that shareable food items shouldn't be served. And so this is a pathway for the pizza industry to be able to serve pizza safely, and the consumers will get it. They'll understand that this is safe. Now we can enjoy pizza. I guarantee you, when they're sitting down there having their first slice and they're wiping their face and they have to go and touch the plate, and then if they have to start recutting the pizza or tearing the slice apart, I don't know how many people are going to be.
There's more to it, right?
With going back again for pizza. So it should be a concern. But now there's something out there that can help. Yeah. So and that's awesome. That's patent pending as well. Well, actually, that's patented. The grooves and the centering circles. Unfortunately, it has to be a cutting board, as well as a serving plate. I know it's unfortunate, but that way the grooves are cut all the way through. You got to have those elements. You have to have those elements to make it work. So.
Well, it's functional.
Yes.
It helps your bottom line. You can use it for sit down. You can use it for takeout. You can use it for slices. You can use a convenience store. Whole Foods you're in, right? I mean, and even like their whole slices section, and instantly, so many different places that serve pizza by the slice, of course, come to my mind, because that's been my world for so long. And even sit down, to be able to bring that out and to not have to touch each other's food.
Right.
Great. Right. And it's timely to be able to do that.
Well, I was working on this shortly after it happened. I've had this actually in my products. I think everybody just kind of accepts the fact that you got to tear apart the slices, but now this pandemic that's happening worldwide has made people more aware of how important it is to not be touching with this.
Well, talking about worldwide, you have these cutting boards in with our buddies at Dodo Pizza. Hi, Max, and hi, Fyodor. And you've got them in with Domino's. You've got distributorships in the U.S. If you are a distributor in Europe or in Canada or Australia or Dubai, and you're watching this, and we do have those people watching this, you need to get a hold of Greg.
Yes. And also, I am working on, I am now working, and I have my first, I'm working with manufacturer reps. And so I have my first manufacturer rep who will have exclusive territory rights in the United States for five states that surround Ohio and some of the surrounding states. And so I'm also looking for manufacturer reps to represent the portion paddle throughout the U.S. and in Canada as well. But Canada is I sell quite a few portion paddles to Canada as well. And the word travels.
Love our pizza.
Yes, well, the word travels, and I'm amazed at how. I mean, I've even sold a portion paddle to a distributor in. Oh gosh, I can't even remember the name now. I mean, it's so far out of the way, it's hard to believe. And in some of the places, some of the territories that it's sold outside the United States, the shipping is not an easy thing. But somehow somehow the portion paddle ends up in those countries. So yeah, so I'm very fortunate, and I'm humbled that I'm able to help the food industry that I absolutely love, be able to come up with some portioning ideas to help, give back, something where people can actually see a monetary value. You think about a pizza cutting board really doesn't give you a return on investment. You spend maybe $30 or $40, an inexpensive thing. But if you're doing pizza by the slice, you're losing money every time you cut a pizza on that cutting board. The likelihood is you're losing money on
Well, even like you mentioned, when you're doing school programs or catering, people all want it to be the same. As soon as you mentioned the kids, I thought of my kids who fight over everything is not exactly equal down to the atom. And
Right.
and they would have been the first ones to say hers is bigger, his is bigger.
Yes, yeah. Well, and that's the thing with the schools. Like nutritionist, she said the kids are pushing away the smaller slices and only buying the bigger slices. And I thought to myself, well, that is a problem. I thought maybe maybe we delivered them too late. Maybe they're coming cold or something. No, we are doing that just perfect. We weren't doing perfect is cutting perfect slices.
I'll tell you, it feels to me that that the person doing the cutting would be a lot more confident and faster with this, with having this type of board in front of them too.
Yes.
So, because they're not constantly trying to eyeball it.
Yes.
You just hit the groove, hit the groove, hit the groove, hit the groove, done.
Yes.
Right? 4 times max, out the door. That's the efficiency of it, right?
Yes, it is. I remember that one country, the island of Malta. There's a couple portion paddles on the island of Malta that a distributor bought from.
That's awesome.
The portion paddle travels.
That's on our bucket list.
Bucket list.
Right, Robbie? Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on today, Greg. Again, these are products that help the bottom line, help the industry, especially now in a time where we have to really retick what our thought process is on how we're approaching our bottom line and where we can find profits, where we can find better ways to do training. And this is again from the industry for the industry. So yes. Greg is a guy who is a pizza man and found a way to really help everybody. And I love that it's accessible. I love that it's cleanable, that it helps with training, helps with portioning again, and helps with bottom line, and is something that is not complicated. It doesn't have a bunch of different parts to it, right. And is easy to sanitize. I mean, now's the time for this thing to be everywhere.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. Your contact information is down below or off to the side or wherever it happens to be. And if you have any questions or if you want to get a hold of Greg, feel free to make a comment in the comments on whatever platform you happen to be watching us on today. Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, of course, where we live. And also touch base and connect with Greg. I'm sure he'd be happy to speak with everybody from distributors to suppliers to franchisees to franchisors. This is a product that, again, you need, especially now in this time. Thanks to my guest, Greg Getzinger from Portion PadL, for coming on all the way from Ohio today. And thanks again, Greg.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.